She has the ability to put things into perspective, lift your mood and give you hope. The glass is always half full and she sees the best in everybody. She lights up a room when she walks in. People warm to her and adore her. Beautiful inside and out, she's so caring, generous and thoughtful. The eternal optimist. She really is Little Miss Sunshine. This is my sister's speech describing me at my wedding, before everything changed. Have you ever been right next to someone but felt like you're losing them? Watching them slip away but they're actually still there? If so, you know you trick yourself into believing it's not that bad, and you can for a while. But a time comes when you have to face it. And for me, it was my sister. She just had more clarity than me, I guess. Well, she's the older one. I'll never forget. She said, "Mum's got dementia, love. We're going to have to do something about it. We're going to have to start planning what to do." Then from 1 minute to the next, she starts with a barrage of lists and items flowing from her of, we'll have to sell the house. She has to move down the coast here with us. We have to do this, that, this. Now, I was just still back at Mum's got dementia, love. And I got off the phone and quickly went to the bathroom. And that's the first time I cried about it. And over the next few months, my usually charmed and wonderful life started to fall to pieces. Times got so bad that I eventually just started to cry all of the time. I couldn't stop. The tears were just coming down my face. I managed to cover them enough for meetings and times I had to, but as soon as I was alone, they would come. My mindset was so different to normal. Everything was about trying to hide it, because if I let anyone in, it meant I had to accept it. Everything became hazy, almost like a dreamlike state. I wasn't ever really present in any moment. I pulled away from my family and my friends, making ever so convincing excuses not to go to the birthday parties and the dinners and the catch-ups. It's actually crazy how easy it is to make excuse after excuse and sail along undetected by everyone while inside you're completely dying. I continued to work, take care of Mum, tag team with my sister doing school runs, keep the house in order. My husband was working really long days away, so I was doing all of the home life alone. Now, my doctor told me I was grieving the loss of my mum while she was still in front of me. She said, going to see the person you're grieving every day hinders any progression of acceptance or getting through it. And then a day came when I just wanted to give it all up, like properly. I remember actually thinking it would just be better for everyone if I wasn't around. And the tears that I'd cried or held back now for every moment of 8 months would just stop. And thankfully I didn't give up on me or them, as my little life was about to take a change. I had a pivotal moment where I realised things had to change. Walking into an event one night, I was assaulted with this bright light show projection on the walls, and it made me feel disorientated and partly unable to see. It was booming music ringing in my ears, and there was like a sea of people before me. I couldn't breathe. It felt like minutes, but it was probably only moments. My heart was pounding and I was completely overwhelmed. And I spotted a friend across the room, and like an anchor I held fast to the earth, I used her to ground me. And in the time it took me to get to her, it had passed. And I just carried on and pretended nothing had happened. But I knew that was it. Things had to change. See, I'd been experiencing a chronic episode of adjustment disorder with a combination of anxiety and depression for those past 8 months, and that was the peak. So adjustment disorders, it's a group of stress-related symptoms including sadness, hopelessness, feelings of being overwhelmed that occur when a person's unable to properly cope or adjust with a major life stressor or event. Now, I never even knew there were different types of depression until then. It's such a solitary battle, and I feel so understanding now of the people that struggle with it every day. I started a mild medication, and within a week, the tears stopped, just like that. And I cried or held back tears for 8 months, every moment I could recall, and they just stopped. Now, I was still sad, But the effect that that medication had on me was extraordinary. So if there's ever a doubt in anyone's mind or a stigma to getting help like this, I want people to know that it saves lives. It truly does. And before and since that depressive time, as my sister so delightfully stated, I was Little Miss Sunshine. I would naturally default to kindness and positivity. So I explored what makes me happy. Art of all kinds, creating it, viewing it, learning it, reading, music, especially Disney songs with my kids. Like, who can resist Hakuna Matata, sung at the top of your lungs? So I decided to draw and listen to music to set me back on my path to happiness. And I started with Amy Winehouse, who I love. It brought me immense joy and so much peace, and I drew better than I ever had before. I drew another and another, and the people around me started requesting prints and T-shirts and posters and cards. And from this, my artistic career was born. I not only unearthed the artist in me, but I also discovered that something that I had within me my whole life was about to be uncovered. You see, I'd been holding on to a secret that I didn't even know about for as long as I can remember. So for a moment, I want you to imagine this. It's just the two of us, and we're sitting at a table at a really busy cafe, and we're chatting. Something that I just said to you reminded you that you've got to get milk on the way home. If you keep listening to me, we carry on. You're really interested in what we're saying. But you can't help but notice these earrings that I'm wearing are the exact same ones that your mum wanted, but you couldn't find them anywhere, so you just jump in quickly to ask me where I got them from. Now, the music in this place is deafening as well, and there's lots of people chatting everywhere, and you can clearly hear there's 4 other conversations going on. They're fighting. She's in a job interview. That's a first date. And there's a child over here clearly not impressed with his lunch. And then a song comes on and you're transported back instantly 20 years ago to the UK, and you're dancing on a sofa with your mates. And you look over and there's a lady sitting here and she's visibly upset, but no one notices her. And your stomach twists in sympathy because you're there in that moment yourself for a second when your world was falling apart. You remember how she felt, but you're loving my story. So you keep asking me extra details because you're all about the details. And a dog walks by, and you love dogs. So you quickly reach down, pat the dog, still listening to me. And you hear a car screech by, and it reminds you of a creaking door at home you've got to fix. And you think, home, I've got to meet the plumber at 1. What time is it? In 10 minutes. Now, don't notice any of this and just focus on me. We're chatting. It's not so easy. Well, welcome to the brain of someone with ADHD. Now, this is my brain and how I think. And I had no idea I was any different to anyone else. You don't know what you don't know, I guess. And it turns out I've had this my whole life, and it's the reason I can sit for hours and draw with such precision, losing track of time. And it's why I feel emotions so strongly, and possibly why I suffered that awful depressive episode. It's how I'm able to connect so deeply to people I meet and be so immensely chatty, seeing the good in everyone. I'm sure you all know what it is. It's called attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Now, I'm not saying it's an excuse for me to run late all the time or to get so excited that I talk over people or forget to pay my bills on time or to go to the shops to buy one thing and find myself in the store where I buy a cookbook, a new skillet pan, some gourmet ingredients, sign up to an online cooking class, to head home to find my family wondering why I never got the thing I went to the shops for in the first place. It's an explanation, it's not an excuse. People with ADHD work so damn hard to do the things everyone else finds a breeze. I half unpack the dishwasher. I leave clothes in the machine or on the line for days. I lose my keys all the time. And I walk my shoes all the way to my bedroom and toss them about a foot from where they live, leaving my super tidy husband saying, why? They just go there. Why? You know why? Dopamine. That's why. Who would have known that the reward system in my brain doesn't fire off quite as well as the neurotypical ones? But once I got diagnosed and treatment, it's incredible. I'm sure some of you are aware of getting glasses and what that's like. You can actually put them on and see leaves on the trees, like properly see them. It's not just like a green ball up there. There's like leaves with tiny little veins and jagged little edges. It's profound. And that's what stimulating my dopamine transporters did. Well, look out, I'm on fire now. I completely unpack the dishwasher all of the time. I put my shoes away. I'm not late anywhere near as much as I used to be. And one of the really obvious changes I noticed was my son's soccer games. Before I couldn't keep up, I had no idea there was people shouting, there's cheering, talking, there's players on the field, coaches, and this tiny ball that moves so fast, I didn't even know which way you were supposed to be kicking the ball half the time. So now I see a kid ever so easily kick a ball from here to there and eventually slam it in the back of the net. So now I'm that excitable soccer mum who squeals with delight every time they get a goal. So it's not just sport and chores that have changed. My work spreadsheets are loving my new attention. But to be fair, I'm really dusting over ADHD here. There's so many other elements I could discuss, but I'm not here to be an expert on ADHD and present the many obstacles and the setbacks it brings. I want you to know that my life has changed in a positive way with my diagnosis, and things are only going to get better with my comprehension of it all. I've armed myself with knowledge about all that it is and have found insight into my childhood now to be enlightening. Girls with ADHD are often missed growing up because they're the chatty, creative dreamer types that don't seem to disrupt anyone and are generally friendly and likeable. I was the excitable, entertaining kid with a head in the clouds or a book. And yes, I guess my potential was not discovered as it should have been. But I'm happy with how it's all played out. You see, whenever I do anything, I dive straight into it. I mean, head first with so much passion and excitement. And this discovery of self is no different. I've written 2 children's books on the topic and I'm currently illustrating them. You see, my artistic career, which was born from a bout of depression, has eventually led me to be creating characters to explain ADHD in a simple and a heartwarming way. And I've just launched an organisation called Distracted. And I hope through this to be able to educate and help bring to light exactly what ADHD is and hopefully end some of the stigma around it. And knowing now what good company I'm in with Richard Bransons, Emma Watsons, Celeste Barbers and Thomas Edisons of the world, it's no surprise I've always seen the possibilities rather than the obstacles. And I've jumped right into new adventures. And what I've come to realise and what I know for certain is my bleakest chapter led me to the discovery and the possibilities of myself. Thank you.